We have never seen this before as the Winnipeg Jets win yet another game, moving to 13-1. They are making history, and it was on the back of Gabe Vilardi, Connor Hellebuyck, and some other players as well. We're going to break that down and discuss how this team is doing, quite frankly, something that we have never seen from the Winnipeg Jets, and we've rarely seen in the history of the NHL. Stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. If you're a part of the 70% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jets content. So if you're enjoying it and you're a Jets fan, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We also post NHL content. So if you're a Jets fan, you can stay for Jets content and stay for the ride for the other videos as well. But obviously, we're going to be focusing on Jets content for the foreseeable future from us. But Darius, there's a lot going on here. And most importantly, the Winnipeg Jets are in for a very obviously exciting season, but they beat the Colorado Avalanche, and what a game it was to watch. And it wasn't the flashiest game in the sense of goal scoring, but it was a game that really kind of shows who the Winnipeg Jets are to a degree. Gabe Vilardi is on an absolute tear now, and again, he's a guy that had a bit of a slow start goal scoring wise, especially coming off of a great season last year. But the Jets win 1-0, and Connor Hellebuyck was the star of the show tonight, which we'll get into a little bit later. But Darius 13-1, and now they've won. They just won a game against a very good, albeit not having the best year, but a very good, we all know, Colorado Avalanche team. And I have a stat I want to bring up in a little bit here, but I want to start with your thoughts on this game, Darius. An absolute masterclass. And quite frankly, they are the best team in the NHL. And they might be the best team we've seen in the past decade so far this season.
Yeah, I keep saying it. They're finding ways to win, and it's different every time and different goal scorers. And the special teams have been great as well. And I want to get into the first goal right away, right off the bat, because it was a nice goal, and they start on time, right? Like they're pushing to score that first goal all the time in every game so far this season. As you can see here, it's a nice play by Scheifele off the wall, and then it's just a nice 2-on-1, and he tucks it away. Gave Vilardi, It's a nice goal there. So that got the game going, and then you know what? Connor Hellebuyck in net. We'll get to him in a second. Doesn't allow any goals for the third time this season. He's been fantastic, but sometimes all you need is one goal, and the defense was fantastic as well. We'll get to that too. Not just their offense, but they can actually play defense too, right? They're pretty good defensively. So it's been a great start to the season for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things to go over in this game. Connor Hellebuyck obviously had 34 saves, and like I mentioned earlier, and we had videos throughout the season, it took Gabe Vilardi 7 games to get his first goal. Tonight is his 6th in his past 8 games. Obviously, it was a centerpiece of that Pierre-Luc Dubois trade way back a few years ago, and quite frankly, he is a very, very integral part to this team. And every time you watch him play, and again, even when he had the game where the 7 games where he didn't score, or the 6 games, I guess, when he didn't score, he still was contributing to winning hockey. The Jets didn't lose in their first 7 games. So it got to a point where it was very, it was just a matter of time for him. But speaking of Connor Hellebuyck for a second here, I mean, he is the best goalie at least one of the best goalies in the NHL. He's had a little bit of some up and down, so there might be some statistical, differences. And I was watching a show today, I think it was TSN, and they didn't have Hellebuyck in their top 3. So depending on who you ask, he went out there and he made a statement. Again, this is against an extremely talented Colorado Avalanche team. 34 shots faced, 34 saves, third shutout of the season. Now, a huge shout out to the defensive core as well. I mean, they obviously did their thing tonight, and that's what they've been doing all year. They've been helping Connor Hellebuyck shine. And 3 seconds left, a rugby scrum in front of Connor Hellebuyck. Desperation, diving Dylan DeMello, and one more face-off. Morgan Barron could have put it on the ice with an empty net to shoot moments ago. Morgan Barron seems cursed at this point. He can't buy a goal to save his life, but that'll be a conversation for another day. He'll get there. He'll get there.
Yeah.
But, man, Connor Hellebuyck, pairing Connor Hellebuyck, we've been speaking this all along, with the best defense in the NHL, it's a scary thing. And when you're going up against the team that eliminated them last year in the playoffs, you wanted to make a statement. And quite frankly, they dog walked them in the playoffs. It didn't even look like the Jets had a chance for most of that series. So to come back out and do exactly what they did in tonight's game, it was not only a statement win, but it really, I think it put the NHL a bit more on notice if they aren't already. They're getting a lot more respect now, but for all you guys saying, or I guess non-Winnipeg Jets fans who were saying the schedule was easy, they had a cakewalk to go 10-1. Well, not anymore.
Well, I like that you brought up respect there, because the Winnipeg Jets certainly have that now, and it's not given, it's earned. And they've earned that so far this season, right? 13-1-0 on the season. Great start to the season. And Connor Hellebuyck, again, if we'll get back into that for a second. And the defense, I want to praise the defense as well. But Connor Hellebuyck, I mean, to start this season, 3 shutouts on the season already. That's absurd. 34 shots against tonight. You're playing a Colorado Avalanche team that you want to make a statement against. Like you said, this is a team that beat you in the playoffs last year. Yes, they're injured, but they still have Cale Makar. You still got Nathan McKinnon. Like, you have offensive threats on that team, and you win the game 1-0. That certainly tells me, and we were talking about it, this next stretch of games was going to tell us what the Winnipeg Jets are made out of, and I think we're starting to find out, and it's pretty good, and especially if you're a Winnipeg Jets fan. And again, the Winnipeg Jets hold on to win 1-0, and they're 13-1-0 on the season. They're only the second team in history to win 13 of their first 14 games. And of course, the other team is the 07-08 Ottawa Senators. So some pretty good company there as well. And I wanted to give some praise before we move on a little bit to Dylan DeMello. This is a guy you can win with. This is, he doesn't get his flowers too often because he's not the flashiest player. He doesn't score goals, stuff like that. But he does the unsung hero stuff. He blocks shots. He's diving, with his face in front of shots here in the final minute of play to ensure that Connor Hellebuyck gets his 3rd shutout of the season. So he's been a big part of this as well. And we haven't talked about him on the channel yet, so I just wanted to give him some love there. He has been great. But Nick, I want your thoughts on this as well. Obviously, an historic win here tonight for the Winnipeg Jets, and the second team, again, like I mentioned, to ever do it. But their goal differential this year is historic as well. Like, they're up there with some pretty good teams, especially to start seasons. And one of the teams there, of course, is the Canucks last year. But not only in history, but this entire season, the next closest team, New York Rangers at plus 20. The Winnipeg Jets are at plus 33 at this point. So what's your take on that? Because that, to me, is just absurd. It's just a sentiment to, obviously, the goaltending, but the offense, not just forwards, but the offense from the defense.
Yeah, and obviously a kind of a common denominator here is great goaltending from both the Rangers and the Jets. But yeah, it's incredible. We know how good this Jets team is, and you mentioned Dylan DeMello. Shout out to him. He doesn't get, like you mentioned, he doesn't get his flowers too much. He wasn't the most. He's not the most talked about defenseman, but when they got him from the Ottawa Senators in a trade a few years ago, he's kind of been the heart and soul of the defense ever since. You obviously have guys alongside Josh Morrissey, of course, but when it comes to guys I don't talk a lot about, Dylan DeMello. One thing I want to mention about the defensive group, you mentioned Cale Makar on the Colorado Avalanche. This is the first time all year he's been held pointless, and obviously he's going to be held pointless because the Colorado Avalanche didn't score a goal, and a lot of that is thanks to Connor Hellebuyck. But as they continue to make history, and with each win, they're going to make more and more history if they keep winning games. It's going to be, it's the most exciting team right now, or one of the most exciting teams to watch in hockey with the way that they're playing, the way that their defense is, and a game like tonight where their offense didn't have it going. They've now won, I think, 2 of their last 4 games have been games where their top lines haven't played necessarily great, or they've got a goalie to mix of both. But I mean, Kyle Connor didn't score. Mark Scheifele didn't score. All these guys, now obviously Gabe Vilardi's top line, but I'm talking about the superstar players of the Winnipeg Jets didn't put up their average scoring, and they win because of their defense and their goaltending, and that's sustainable hockey, and that's what we mentioned when we say sustainable. They're winning games that not necessarily they shouldn't win, but most teams on most given nights without an elite defensive and elite goalie group, even if you have a very good to above average goalie, they would have lost the game tonight. If you had 95% of the other goalies in the NHL, you can make an argument that they would have lost the game tonight and they would have been 12-2. But nope, they won. And thanks to Connor Hellebuyck. And of course, the defense as well. Got to give them their props. Dylan DeMello, everybody. But everybody played their part. Even the forwards, when they're not playing well, they're forechecking. They're doing everything great. They're playing great defense. And everyone's stepping up. And quite frankly, it's incredible to watch. So shout out to them.
The most impressive thing to me, and I keep saying it, is their ability to bounce back, because certain players will have bad games, but then the next game, they might be the best players on the ice. And I think that's really impressive, because if you look at some other teams around the league, even top teams in the league, they're shuffling things around. Maybe their third line's not going, or the second line, they have an issue with the special team, something like that. But the Winnipeg Jets right now, everything is just going. They're not making too many adjustments. They're just playing their game. Every team that they play is almost forced to play their game, which is exactly what you want, and it's going well for the Jets. So I think that's the most impressive thing. And again, I keep saying it, I don't know if they're going to slow down anytime soon. Their only loss coming to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it was a pretty poor effort from the Winnipeg Jets. But again, any team can beat anybody on any given night in the NHL. But yeah, it's been very interesting so far.
Yeah, and it's going to keep going, and we'll keep you up to date with all the latest Jets news. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys for a video featuring the Winnipeg Jets tomorrow.